You know how hot it is in here?
This is where hair makeup comes in.
Yeah. You want me looking like directly at the camera? Hold on, I'm thinking right now. It's extremely hot. Okay, let's try something. Hey YouTube, my name is Jon Laymon. I have been an artist my entire life. I've been doing this professionally since I was 14, and it started. I was hooked. I just continue to do this. Now, many years later, I have done so many different things, and I totally enjoy what I do. My son had an idea, hey Dad, why don't we make a YouTube channel? And I'm like, I'm too busy, I can't do it. He's like, well, I'll do it. So he's been filming throughout the past couple years, time-lapsing and editing, and we're gonna give this thing a try and see how it works out. I hope you guys enjoy. How do I look? Am I in focus? No, I'm just doing this. I got turned on to this project that we're looking at right now from a builder that I've worked with 14 years ago. And I was currently building a garage for one of my clients that I've had for 19 years. They were building the house. They had this other client that had some great ideas. They weren't sure how to pull it off. They were talking about just carpet in the floor. Everybody's had carpet, maybe tile. They have the budget where they were talking white marble. Everybody's seen that. So I figured, why not have it like you're walking on water? Jesus, that'd be awesome. So I kind of threw that idea at him, and he's like, I love it, let's do it. And I was able to con my son into working with me, because you have to be barefoot. You don't want to track around the epoxy because that will never ever come off of anything. So because you're barefoot, that also means you're in shorts and your knees are kneeling down on all of the rocks, all the gravel, everything that you can imagine. It's like Lego hell. But you kind of get in the zone, and it's very mesmerizing, very relaxing. And you just start making little rivers and little nooks and crannies, and you kind of start to imagine how it's looking in your head, and you just make it. You just make it on the floor in somebody else's house. The challenge that was ahead of us that I kind of knew going into it was that, we'll call it the mouth of the river, which then leads into the cruise ship, was actually 2 inches taller than where you would enter into the room. That created a 3-day pour. I would start to pour and let it level out, and then pour again. And it takes 6 hours. It's a slow cure, thick pour. So I'd have my squeegee and I'd start squeegeeing it out slowly. So it was almost like one layer, then the other layer, then the other layer. So it has a slight taper. You can't just like buy you can buy cabinetry, but the rooms that I do, I don't want like, oh yeah, I bought that, I saw that and I bought it too. So everything's custom made. My buddy Nathan, incredible at math. He's actually an engineer.
All right, Nathan, so what is the plan for this countertop?
So this countertop, we planed it, we pulled the twist out.
I said, I need cabinets. I don't want any straight lines. I don't want anything like that. I came back to the shop, beautiful cabinetry built. Then I could begin putting my epoxy on there. I hate straight lines. So for the doors, like where the doors would actually come closed, I cut all of this out and then carved, sculpted actually out of the epoxy, all the vines and the vines coming out to make the actual handles, and then brought it there in place because the final fit, it could fit perfect in the shop, but once you get to where you're going, the floor could be slightly unlevel. Once you get it in there, it could tweak. So I do all the finals in place once we're there. We began framing out where the TVs go. There's 3 85-inch TVs. In order to get to the TVs, if something happens to them, a cord comes out, whatever. So the way how I designed it are the 3 TVs are in place, surrounded by trees. And these trees are mounted. The trees come off. Now we can remove the TVs. So all of that had to be sculpted into place, blow foam, chainsaw, electric knife, carve it out, and then start putting the epoxy around it, start sculpting all the bark, get everything onto it. It's hot days. I have a big fan in the back. I just turn the fan on, raise my doors up, and all kinds of people stop by. My wife stops in, neighbors down the street stop in, my son comes over. I enjoy the company. Also gives me an excuse just to take a break and sit down. I can't smell. I've been around this forever, I can't smell anymore. And started kind of attracting a crowd up there, and I turned around and there's about 6 or 8 painters behind me just looking as I'm blowing this foam, and just, you can see it come to life right there in front of you. It gets pretty monotonous sculpting bark and sculpting vines. So my son did a lot of that, sculpting on it. I got some really cool pictures of him working on it. But again, everything's done barefoot. You do not want to track that epoxy anywhere in a house, especially something like that. Just the floors, the carpeting, everything is just crazy expensive. I build 90% of everything into the shop. So when I get there, they're rounding third. They're almost done with the house, and I go in and just make a mess. The wall actually extended out further. I didn't want that. I wanted to cut it back, so it opened up this hallway even better. I called the GC. I said, I'm gonna chainsaw this wall out. He said, do me a favor, John, before you do that, can you look inside, make sure there isn't any wires or pipes? And there wasn't. So that thing was gone. I wanted to do a live edge bar top. Everybody's done live edge bar tops on YouTube, but this just was, you need to do it. Nathan knew a place up in Georgia. Was it Georgia?
I think it was Georgia.
I think it was Georgia. And he went up to Georgia. He does some engineering stuff up there. And he went over, found this beautiful slab, strapped it on top of his Jeep and drove back. We sanded that thing and polished it. It looked great. Everybody puts their clears on it. They rub it down, they do whatever. That's great. That's fantastic. In my line of work, I don't have that kind of time. So we sand it down and then I spray it all with automotive clear. It's a beautiful finish, very thick, very deep, and very robust. So when you carry a 12-foot long slab upstairs and around and over and back through and then into a hallway, you're gonna get scratches on it. Automotive clear, buffs right out. Mirror finish, beautiful. So that's one of the pluses of that. Also, I wanted to create like it was actually growing out, so I was able to cut, and then I sculpted all the bark on the edge. Some people say, hey, it's great if you leave the bark. Other people say, hey, the bark's not good, it's gonna rot, it's gonna deteriorate, it's gonna fall off. So I just made all my bark. With the drop from that, I made another little shelf underneath there so they can put little knickknacks or anything in there. They also wanted a popcorn machine. I'm not a big fan of popcorn machines because it looks too modern. It's kind of ruining the whole feel and the theme of everything. They bought it. And I said, can I take that back to my shop? They said, absolutely. So I brought it back to the shop and sculpted the whole thing to look as if the Ewoks have built it. Using sticks, no bamboo. Using sticks in leather, real leather, and wrapping things, and then heat temperature, all this other stuff that's gonna happen into there. Made all their little utensils so they all look like they were carved out of wood, and then lit that up. Had a really cool way how to light that, and then was able to set that into the corner, kind of nested in where the spiral staircase goes up, and it actually fit. I was surprised at that. A lot of times the quick things are the best things. You don't have a lot of love for it. It's something they wanted, but it comes together, and I don't know, they stand out the most to me because it was little effort and it came out awesome. When I use spray foam, it's so easy because it's addition and subtraction sculpting all in one. You spray the foam, it takes 2 minutes, you carve it down, you don't like it, spray more foam. You can actually start sculpting as you're blowing the foam, raising it up where you need, you know, and building that up so you don't have to carve as deep between. I had to figure out a cool way how to make these branches come off, go back on a PVC. That's the easiest thing. You can take heat gun, heat the PVC, bend it, hit it with a wet cloth, it's gonna stay in that shape, and then just start blowing foam, and then comes off, able to get it into where it needs to go, and then put it back on. It's kind of fun. I'm watching it over here on the video. It's been so long I haven't seen it. Like even in the video, this door wasn't even finished. Oh, look, that's before my desk. That's the old school desk.
The Matthews paint workbench.
Once I had done the final pour on the floor, we then, covered it with the EVA foam mats. And then I can start building up, making the plywood start to look more organic. Just sculpting vines, sculpting tree branches.
There's an empty cruise shipper in the back.
Oh yeah. In the back of this shot, you can see where all the way into the back, it's just an empty room. They're running up, family's about to move in. They primed it for me and threw down some junk carpet because I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna make it a mess. So we passed inspection, everything was great, they got their CO. I could continue to work and get that room done before the family even moved in. This was one of the more tighter deadlines that I've had. The family's moving in, I ended up getting a late start, other things that happened. We had 4 months, start to finish, get it done. And we did.
3 rooms. I don't know if you said that.
Did I say 3 rooms? But it was fun. It's, if you enjoy what you do, you have a good life. It wasn't until all the lighting that I had around and the tree branches coming up, and then I put gels over top of all the light, had all that on the system so it would act as a sunset, and then it could go into like high noon, which I call cleaning lights. So they can turn everything on, they can clean it, they can look at how everything's looking, and then they can turn it back to their ambient lighting and little sounds that we had throughout there. We had 2 speakers up in the ceiling that we could play water sounds, any ambient sounds that they wanted, river running, crickets at night. All 3 of the TVs, 85 inches lined up, were all synced to make one image. So it was like a forest image that you're looking out on with the trees here, and it just went away that there was a seam there because the seam itself were trees coming at you. Underneath the TVs, we had, a backsplash. But you don't want like your typical backsplash, so I made like this large vine that was laying down that also was removable. But when it was up, it snapped into place around the electrical outlets. With sculpting the vines, I wanted it, not just a vine, I wanted it to look like it was twisted and weathered and just all wrapped around going up into it. It had movement, so it wasn't just a stick-on thing. When you're looking at it, your eye just kept going around and came out really cool, I thought. This homeowner has 4 kids. He was asking, he's like, can you put my kids in Carbonite? I was like, of course I can. I'll figure it out. So then I was like, okay, we need some grand doors. So when you're on the inside of the cruise ship, it's just very intimidating, just big 10-foot tall doors, 12-foot tall doors. And then on the opposite side, that's when I figured I would do the 4 kids in Carbonite stacked. The part where the blue ladder is actually where I nested in the Ewok popcorn machine. I don't know why I did that. When I start painting, especially trees, something that's gonna have multiple layers on it, washes, dry brushes, you base coat everything. Typically I base coat things darker because I have more control over the dry brush. So I can base coat it, I can wash it then with the darker colors, then sits in all the nooks and crannies, and then dry brush, and it gets all the highlights. So when we're base coating, we want that paint to be more watered down, so it's coating the entire thing. And always use flat on everything. Flat, you can control a lot more. It dries faster. Then if you want a sheen on it, you can do that with your clears. Once the base coat's on, the green, then you can come back with your highlights, light coming through the greenery, and just sponge, spritzer bottle, dab it around, get it to where you like it. And then it just adds more of that depth. So it's not just stapled on. There's actually a mystery behind it. So at the end of the project, that's the fun part. You can see what else it needs, little mushrooms here and there. I wanted more light on the kids in Carbonite, and while I'm there, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make side lights, down lights, and then up lighting all around. And what's great is I don't have to ask anybody, just do it. Homeowners love it, they trust me, and kind of annoys the team. They're like, no, we're almost done. But at the end, they're like, yeah, this is gonna be cooler now. The reflection of that river, I absolutely love that. When you look down the hallway and you see the kids in Carbonite, and then you see their reflection, it looks so deep, like there's 8 stacked. Super cool. Go back and put little moss here and there and little tufts of grass where it needs a little bit of color. And at the end of the job, time to give it to the homeowner. And I love their reaction. I love how excited they are. These kids were totally blown away. Their dad kept it a secret from them on what parts and what they had a general idea, but they were so excited. The wife loved it. Everybody was happy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
All right, we done?
We're done. Call it.